Hello. Hello, everybody. It's March 8th, 2019. I'm Connor Morgan, and I'm going to be doing a little playoff preview with you guys today. Who I think is in and who I think is out of the 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs. But first, earlier this week, the NHL lost a legend, Ted Lindsay. He passed away March 4th. It's a huge loss for the NHL and the game. He did a lot on the ice and off. He played for 17 seasons, 14 in Detroit, 3 in Chicago. He won 4 Stanley Cups, all in Detroit, and he won an Art Ross in that time as well. So Ted Lindsay, you'll be very much missed. Last night's games. Couple games last night. Won't talk about all of them, just kind of the meaningful ones. Pittsburgh played Columbus, and they're both neck and neck in a playoff race. Pittsburgh won 3-0. Sid scored his 6th goal in his 6th straight game. During that 6-game point streak, or 6-game goal streak, he has 14 points, which is just absurd. He is on fire, and at the right time too. John Tortorella scratched Sergei Bobrovsky last night. I have no idea why. I know Pittsburgh has owned Bobrovsky. He does not play well against them, but I mean, you're in a playoff race and he's your number one goaltender, so it's a little confusing, but maybe we'll find out a little bit more in the coming days. Pitt plays Columbus again on Saturday. They have home and home this week, so another big game tomorrow for those two teams. The Bruins win again. That's 18 games in a row that they have a point. The entire month of February, they didn't lose, and going into March now. 18 games. They're 14-0-4 in those 18 games. So it's extremely impressive. And David Pasternak's been injured for a good chunk of that time too. So that's even more impressive. Alexander Radulov got a hat trick last night after being suspended for a game by the team. It's a disciplinary thing. But he came back last night and got a hat trick, so maybe Dallas is saying apology accepted. Okay, so now let's talk about who's going to get into the playoffs and who is not. So we'll start with the East. The East is pretty locked up for the most part. In the Atlantic, you got Tampa, Boston, and Toronto. Tampa Bay will win that division, it looks like. Boston and Toronto are jostling for the 2-3 spot. Boston's 4 points ahead of Toronto right now. They have the exact same amount of games played. In the Metro, you have the Islanders number 1. Washington's tied with them. And Pitt is in the 3 spot with... They're 4 points behind. They've all played the exact same amount of games played, 67. So that'll be interesting. I mean, that whole division, I think, is up for grabs still, with the Islanders and Washington tied, and Pitt is right there, and they're rolling right now, so who knows. The wild card is Carolina and Montreal. They both have 79 points, with Columbus right behind them with 77. Philadelphia has 72 points. They're 7 points out, but I don't think that they're going to do much more the rest of the way, so I'm not even going to bother talking about them. But the wild card, Carolina, Montreal, Columbus. Montreal has the most games played out of these three teams with 68. Columbus has a game in hand. Carolina has 2. Columbus is on the outskirts right now. They are 2 points out, sitting 2 points behind Montreal and Carolina respectively. However, they have a game in hand against Montreal. So that's going to be huge going down the stretch. Okay, so looking at some remaining schedules here, let's look at Pittsburgh's. So Pitt's got a pretty tough schedule the rest of the way. About half the teams they play are playoff teams. They play Boston and Washington coming up next week. They got to play Nashville twice yet. And they got to play Carolina twice still. So, I mean, there are lots of games against playoff teams, and the 2 games against Carolina, one of the teams that are chasing them, are going to be huge. Let's move on to Carolina here. So Carolina has a tough schedule the rest of the way. Almost all the teams that they play are playoff teams. So they're in tough. They got the Caps twice, Pitt twice. They'll play Toronto, Montreal, all teams that are right there in the hunt. So Carolina's in tough. But I think that they can do it. They've been playing really, really well lately, and they seem to have that fan base behind them with all those crazy celebrations that they do at the end of games. So whatever works, I guess, right? Columbus also has a pretty tough schedule the rest of the way. They got to go out west, do that western road trip, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver still. They got to play Boston twice, and they play a lot of playoff teams the rest of the way, so it's going to be tough for Columbus. And who's the last one? Let's look at Montreal's remaining schedule. The last fringe team, Montreal. Montreal's schedule is, I think, a little bit more favorable than the other teams. They about half their opponents are playoff teams. The other half are not. Alright, so here are my predictions for first round matchups. I think we're gonna see. I think the first round. I think we'll see Tampa Bay versus Columbus. I think we're gonna see Washington against Carolina. I think we're going to see Pitt against the Islanders. And I think we're going to see Boston and Toronto. I think that is how the East is going to shape up. We will find out in about a month's time. We'll see how correct I was or how incorrect I was. Okay, to the West. West Coast, best coast. To the West. Right now the Central is Nashville, Winnipeg, St. Louis. The Pacific is Calgary, Josie, Vegas. And the wild card is Dallas, Minnesota. So the Central, Nashville's up a point on Winnipeg. So they're battling for first right there. That's going to be tight. Calgary is only a point up on San Jose in the Pacific. Vegas is about 10 points behind, so I'm not thinking they're going to do anything to catch Calgary. But Calgary, San Jose, that'll be interesting to see who wins that. And then the wild card, Dallas and Minnesota. Dallas has 75 points. Minnesota has 74. and Dallas has a game in hand. Right there are Arizona, Colorado, Edmonton. Now, Edmonton's not getting in, so I'm not going to waste my time talking about them, unfortunately. If they did get in, that would be wicked. I would love that. I mean, the more Canadian teams, the better. Yeah. I would like to see Montreal get in, I guess, for that reason, too. It would be really, really nice, but unfortunately, I don't think they're going to. Okay, back to the West. This will start with Dallas, because they're in that top wildcard spot. Okay, so Dallas's schedule is... It's okay. It's not crazy tough, but in the span of a week, they have to play Colorado, Pitt, Winnipeg, and Calgary. So, from March 21st to 27th. So that's going to be a tough 4-game stretch for them. Right, let's see what Minnesota's remaining schedule looks like. Yeah, they got a tough schedule. Minnesota's got a tough schedule ahead. Lots of playoff teams in there. You gotta play Winnipeg twice. So that's interesting. Tough schedule for Minnesota. Let's look at the Coyotes. Alright, they got a little mixture. So Arizona's got a pretty tough schedule. But they're right there. So if they can string together a few wins, who knows? Who knows? And last but not least, oh yeah, Colorado. Oh man. Colorado doesn't have a very fortuitous schedule either, unfortunately. They got Chicago twice, who, even though Chicago's not in, still a decent hockey team. Play Vegas, Arizona, Winnipeg, and Carolina. All these wild card teams play each other at some point. It's going to be a wild finish. That's for sure. See, I don't think things are going to change too much in the West. I think the wild card is going to stay as it is. I think Minnesota is going to finish in that top wild card spot, though. Minnesota and Dallas play each other twice down the stretch, so those two games are going to be huge. Don't want to count out Arizona or Colorado yet, but I think Minnesota and Dallas are just a little bit better. So those matchups then in the West, I think we might see some juggling for the top spot in the Central and the Pacific. Actually, they're both within a point, so it could go either way. I think Winnipeg's actually going to win the Central. They got 3 games in hand on Nashville still. So, first round playoff matchups in the West. I think we'll see Calgary will be playing Dallas, I think. I think we're going to see Winnipeg against Minnesota. And then a 2-3 in the Central. I think we'll see Nashville and St. Louis. And then I think we'll see San Jose and Vegas in the Pacific as the 2-3 matchup. So it's going to be a hell of a first round, that's for sure. We'll see how my predictions did. Good predictions? Bad predictions? Who knows? Then if we really want to zoom ahead, I think the final is going to be Winnipeg and Tampa Bay. I think Winnipeg is going to win. I think they're going to win the cup. They have such a good team. big, strong. Man. Yeah. So I think Winnipeg, I think Winnipeg's going to win the cup. Let me know what you guys think, though. Yeah, that's it for the NHL. Little NFL news for you. Antonio Brown, I'm sure you're all aware of what's going on with him. So last night it was reported that he was supposedly going to be traded to the Buffalo Bills. I'm sure Bills fans were absolutely losing their minds. But this morning I woke up and I heard that the trade had fallen through, or the trade wasn't going to go through because AB said that he wouldn't report to the team. So, man, Buffalo just can't catch a break. They want to go out and get this guy, you know, the best receiver in the league, and he pretty much says, I don't want to play for you. So that's where that's at right now. Antonio Brown also posted on Instagram saying fake news to a report that had said that he was being traded to Buffalo. So, yeah, I don't think AB's going to Buffalo, and those sweepstakes will continue. I don't know where he's going to go. I got really no comments to that, but we'll see. Anyways, that's it. That's all. This was my first ever recorded video, so I hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll be doing more. Catch ya.